of Satan. Let me use my correct, my truthful native accent, which is African. I don't want to fake myself to be a black American. I am an African, and all black Americans are Africans as well. And if you're a child of God, why do you call yourself a child of God? We've seen through the history, through the generations that have come and have gone, we've seen that many people are coming forward, calling themselves the children of God, the most anointed ones of God. But who truly are these people, the children of God? Many Africans have said that it is the black people who were enslaved, shipped to the Atlantic. Some people have said that the Jews that we have in modern day Israel, some people in Ethiopia have come forward calling themselves the children of God. And so there is a lot of confusion and a lot of ambiguity. Today in this video, we are going to answer this question. Everyone is calling himself the children of God or the chosen one. And for this reason, there's a video that I found online. I want us to use it as a reference, have a view at it, and then by the end of the video, I shall share with you my thoughts, where we shall also give a commentary on this video based on the topic of who are the children of God. So without further ado, let's dive in.
Some kind. When it comes to the warfare, brothers and sisters, of African liberation or salvation, the traitor is what I call a Negro. Go ahead. Now, according to Webster's dictionary, which has become the platform of Eurocentric definitions and word meanings, a Negro, check out what Webster says now, a Negro is a black person. A member of the dominant group of mankind in Africa. According to Webster, a Negro is one who is characterized by dark skin. Well, I got a problem with that definition, because what I just read fits every last one of us in this room. And I'm not a Negro. And you, some of you, are not Negro. Some of you are Negroes. And I'm going to tell you how that happened. If y'all don't mind, I would like to exercise the authority of the Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. And I'd like to reach into those 7 principles and grab one word pronounced Kujichagulia, which means self-determination. The reason why I want to do this, y'all, is because Kujichagulia says that we must define ourselves. We must name ourselves. We must create for ourselves and speak for ourselves instead of being defined, named, and created for and spoken for by others. So if I can exercise the principle of Kujichagulia, let me define for you what a Negro is. Instead of listening to this white man named Webster. Let us black folk determine what is a Negro. A Negro, now this is Ray Hagan's definition, you don't have to accept it, but it's the best I can come up with. A Negro is a non-person, N-O-N dash person. A Negro is a body without a mind. A Negro is an empty shell that has been programmed to destroy its own kind. A Negro is anything that would destroy the fostering of African liberation. A Negro has no idea what or who they are. And because they suffer from low self-esteem, and a lack of self-awareness, they will do anything to be recognized and accepted by others, even their own enemy. Well, where did Negroes come from?
All right, sir.
How did Negroes come into being? So in the war for the salvation or the liberation of our people, there's one thing that we must always remember, and that is we are at war. Did y'all hear what I said? Repeat it after me. We are at war. When are we at war? Look at the person next to you and say, all the time.
All the time.
Right now. Tonight. Yesterday. Tomorrow. When you wake up in the morning. When you get ready to go to bed tonight. When you get ready to sit down to eat dinner. Remember, we are at war. What does it mean to be at war? A lot of people say that they're at war, but they have no idea of what it means to be at war. To be at war means to be in a declared or open conflict with some other entity or someone else. To be at war means to be in a struggle against someone else. To be at war means to have contention between you and someone else. To be at war means to be in opposition to another with the purpose of defeating, destroying, or neutralizing the ability of your opponent to resist your power and control. That's what it means to be at war. And whether y'all realize it or not, there is something working through someone or some people who are at war trying to neutralize you. Trying to neutralize me. Trying to remove from us that which empowers us. Are y'all following me? Now I'm going to drop something on you now about the warfare. The most dangerous person, hear me well. The most dangerous person in a war is the person who is a traitor. Did y'all hear me? Yes. The traitor is the most dangerous person in warfare. Yes. Why is it? Because a traitor is a person who commits treason. Yes. And how do they do that? By violating the trust and faith of his or her own people. This is done by giving aid or assistance to the enemy of your own people. That's what a traitor is. Oh, it's deep, y'all. Because in the process of giving aid or assistance to the enemy of your people, you become an enemy of your own people. Come on, that's right. That's right. Go ahead, sir. Oh, this thing gets deep. Take your time. A traitor is a treacherous person. Let me tell you why they're treacherous. Because a traitor is a person who has the ability of making you think that there's that they're with you. A traitor is a person who has the ability of making you think, making it appear as though they are in support of the program. Oh, shucks. A traitor is one that makes you think that you can count on them. But in reality, traitor is the one who covertly, that's the word we use in military intelligence, who covertly, which means underhandedly, or in secret, they try to subvert the strength and program of the struggle. The most dangerous characteristic about the traitor is that they're sometimes hard to detect. Y'all following me? You see, most people look right at the traitor and don't see him for what they are. You know why? Because the traitor looks like us. The traitor sounds like us. The traitor dresses like us. Traitor sings like us. Traitor gives money like us. Traitor gets happy like us. In fact, y'all, the traitor might even carry a Hosea and a Bible like us. But the traitor has no real interest in learning or in developing themselves or in preparing themselves for the war. Y'all follow me? That their own people are engaged in. I have to tell y'all the truth. We weren't always like we are. I look at other people, other nationalities, and I've seen, maybe you've seen it too, I've seen a group, a few people from another ethnic group come into town, and they all pitched in and moved into a big apartment, and through nepotism they saved up their money, and then a few years later they all went and bought their own house. I've seen ethnic groups come into town and through cooperative economics, in a matter of 15 or 20 years, they own an 8-block radius of homes and stores and markets. And I say, Lord, what's wrong with my folk? We've been here longer than any other ethnic group, and yet we have less than any other ethnic group. Why is that? An African Holy Ghost said to me, because of Negroes. Let me tell you how this happened. Everybody say psychological and social engineering. Now, follow what I'm saying. I'm going to try to paint this picture for you. Everybody comes to this country from their country, and when they come here, they bring with them their own language. They bring with them their own style of dress. They come here with family traditions. They come here from their land with memories of what it was like in the homeland. They come here with a strong culture and a spiritual and personal identity to build upon. Everybody that comes here, every immigrant that comes here with the things I just named. Always always remember, brothers and sisters, and hear me good, always, don't ever forget this. The founding fathers, what did I just say?
The founding fathers.
The founding fathers, by the way, who were our slave masters. Right. Now see, children, when y'all read about the founding fathers in school, let the teacher know that yes, our pastor told us that they were our slave masters. You tell the teacher that, okay? The founding fathers, who were our slave masters, never intended for the Africans that they imported by force to develop their own stable communities based on our African cultural traditions. Please understand that. What America and other European colonies created and sought to maintain was a permanent working class of people who would always be subjugated to them. Did y'all hear what I said? I don't care how much and how loud you holler their Jesus. They still want you subjugated to them, and they still want you working for and serving them, because that's the only acceptable place for you in their mind. Commercial investors, wealthy landowners, and colonial governments combined their forces to suppress any possibility of Africans ever becoming a dominant force in the land.
Come on, son. Go ahead.
Why did they do this? Because if we ever became a dominant force in the land, one day we just might bring retribution and judgment on them for how they treated our great-grandparents. Listen, brothers and sisters, in order for the slave trade to be profitable back then, and for white supremacy to exist today, repeat this after me. All resistance to the system of racism had to be and must be crushed. Did you digest that yet? Their program cannot prosper unless they crush every bit of resistance against supremacy of the white race. So the only way they could crush resistance is to make Negroes. Follow this now. You see, it was too risky to have a Moor walking around. Too risky to have a Mandinka walking around. Too risky to have a Hausa or a Fulani walking around. It was too risky to have a Senegalese or a Sudanese or an Abyssinian walking around knowing who they are. They couldn't have that. They could not risk having an African who was the son of a university professor.
Come on, preacher.
They could not, nor can they today, risk having an African who is the daughter of a high African government official walking around knowing who she is. Those who captured our people and sold our people and owned our people were very calculating and methodical in how to survive. Let's make Negroes out of these Africans. Look at the person next to you and say, there is a difference, between an African, and a Negro. Well, what was the process? The first thing that had to be done in changing the African into a Negro was they had to remove all signs of personal identification.
That's right.
Y'all with me?
Yes.
When Africans were brought to this country, guess what, y'all? They were stripped of their clothes. And something else. Their heads were shaved. Sounds a little familiar if any one of you been in the military. I remember my first night in Marine Corps boot camp. When I stepped off that gray dog, we got about 2 hours of sleep, and the next morning, first thing they did to us was stripped us of our clothing and shaved all our hair off. And anything that we had, rings or anything, that gave us an awareness of what we were before we got here, they took it from us. And then they turned around and told every last one of us, whatever color you were, you're no longer that. The color you are now is green. Am I telling y'all know what I'm talking about? And they walk up to you and say, what color are you, recruit? And like a fool, I stood there and said, green, sir. What are you? Instead of saying an African warrior, I stood there and said, a little green amphibious monster. That's their way. The reason that they do this is that's their way of removing all indications of a national affiliation, removing any indication of an individual status. Whatever you were, you no longer was that. And this was their way of removing a person's personal style. Y'all remember Roots? Yes. With Kunta Kinte? A little warrior prince, and they would not stop until they broke him and made him say, my name is Toby's son. Today, brothers and sisters, this same European program is being promoted in the minds of our children. Let me tell you how it's happening. You know, what they do now in school is they give false impressions of our children and Africans by showing them pictures in their school books of Africans who ain't got no clothes on. Come on, people, we dressed in fine robes. We dressed in royalty and gold and headdresses. And some of you black, beautiful women still do it because y'all put these hats on. Because, you see, that's your genetic memory bank talking to y'all, saying, let me put on this awesome hat. Because, see, that comes from Africa. But the pictures they show our children in school is giving a false impression of Africans of not having on any clothes and being civilized by white folk who are fully dressed. The pictures and images that they show are little black Africans walking around and running through the bushes with a piece of cloth covering their genitalia and a ring in their nose and a spear in their hand, running around grass huts. While, of course, the white professor is the one who has come to give us an education and civilize us. The next step, by the way, I'm reminded of an African who, from the Dahomey tribe, who was captured and forced to walk hundreds of miles to the coast. He survived a long journey and the slave ship which was bound for Brazil, where he was sold to a plantation owner. Guess what this African did? He became despondent. He became despondent because he was an awesome brother in his homeland, but now he's nothing. He can't communicate to anybody. He walks around in chains, and he became so despondent that he began drinking alcohol. Now, this is old, but it still happens today. He escaped from the plantation, but was recaptured and, of course, beaten many, many, many times. He became suicidal, and he developed the mentality of becoming unstable. He escaped to New York and was imprisoned there. He became more confused and more depressed and resorted more to alcoholism. And his owners took him to Mississippi. And in Mississippi, he was introduced to a man named Pastor William Wilson of the Baptist Free Mission Society. And Pastor Wilson convinced this African man that his problems stemmed from his heathen African religion. And if he wanted to be set free, he had to forsake his Africanness and take on Jesus Christ and be baptized. And of course the brother said, all right. He was baptized and he thought he had it made now. And how many of y'all have made that step of coming into the church, and you got baptized and you came up and went through the ritual and you thought it was all going to be all right, only to find out a few weeks later ain't nothing changed? I'm still just another N-I-G-G-E-R. Why are we afraid to say the word nigger? In the minds of the system, that's all you are. Ask Jesse, he'll tell you. The next step in making Negroes out of Africans, check this now, was to separate Africans from other Africans who spoke the same language. Y'all following this program? The purpose for this was to prevent Africans from communicating with each other and plotting with each other on what they needed to do to overcome this oppressor. If they couldn't communicate with each other, then they couldn't accomplish much. Yeah, buddy. And the African who had just arrived in America found English or Spanish or French or Dutch or Portuguese being spoken by other African slaves, and immediately he felt like an alien to his own people. That's the program. Woo, buddy, African languages were forbidden, or you get beat real bad if you spoke in your native tongue. And the drum, that was the spiritual heartbeat of our people, were taken away, and they couldn't even communicate with the drums. Our slave masters often mocked the language of the slaves and pointed out, because they couldn't understand each other, see how you dumb Africans are. As a result of outlawing teaching, the slave couldn't learn how to read or write. Now mind you, y'all, I don't want you to think for one moment that Africans who were brought here couldn't read or write. Did y'all hear what I said? See, the way they teach it to our children in history class. It's like slaves didn't know how to read or write. Slaves didn't know how to read or write English. Please understand that. Oh, they could read and they could write. For they brought over here, let me tell y'all something. The first people that they took as slaves were the teachers, the leaders, the spiritual people. So they knew how to read and write, but they had to break them first. Oh, man. As a result of going through this, slaveholders were able to convince many American-born slaves. Everybody say American-born slaves. American-born slaves. Now see, that's the difference, y'all. Once they're American-born slaves, the slave master was able to teach them that Negroes were really dumb. You follow what I'm saying? Because they were born under the slave master's venue. The next step in making a Negro was to instill, now follow this psychology here, was to instill such an overwhelming fear of the white man that the black slave dared not rebel. The fear of whites was so deeply impressed in the minds of the black slave that even black slave mothers programmed their children to be a good and obedient slave. Black slave mothers would tell their children, whatever you do, don't make massa mad at you. Y'all follow this thing here? Now, mind you, they were only trying to protect their children. That's all they were trying to do. But in the process of that woman trying to protect her child from suffering horrible whippings and even sometimes being put to death, in the process of trying to protect that child, many of them extinguished or killed the warrior spirit, especially in their male children. And guess what, y'all? To this day, many black women still do the same thing. Many of them say, now listen, don't you ever forget, this is the white man's world. And you got to play by his rules, boy. Oh, that's what people are hearing today. The warrior spirit in the children of slaves was broken early as a means of protecting against later punishment. The next step, y'all see these steps here? Yeah. The next step in making a Negro was the separation of family members. Yeah. Oh, this thing gets real serious here, y'all. Imagine, if you can, parents, imagine somebody busting into your sleeping quarters and snatching your 3-year-old, your 4-year-old child from you. And you know that when they take them through that door, you're never going to see your child again. Try to imagine what that might be like. See, y'all can't even think on that level. Imagine what it might be like for a man to be with his wife, and the slave master would bust through the door and snatch his wife and rape her, while another slave headman would hold a shotgun to the neck of that man. Can you imagine what that must have been like? Being sold away, or watching family members being sold away, was a devastating experience. And guess what, y'all? The psycho-history, we're still living it as a people. Many slaves became so overcome with grief that they went insane or suicidal. Now follow this program. The slave master knew, once I snatch your child from you. Now I'm going to see if y'all can apply it to today. The slave master knew, once I snatch your child from you, their upbringing will no longer be under your supervision. You got this? Guess what, y'all? It's still going on today. They're just not breaking in your house. Okay? Because of economic pressure and you trying to make ends meet. You're so busy working to pay the bills. Your child still ain't under your supervision. 8 hours of the day, he's under someone else's supervision. We call it school. When your child gets out of school, you're not around, parent. Hello? So what does this child do now? Who is this child getting cultural, spiritual development from? Television. Pokemon videos. PlayStation. Or either they're involved in some kind of government program to monitor your children until you get off work. And of course, guess what happens? By the time that child is 11 years old, there's no attachment between you and your child because another entity was its parent. Nobody to pass on or pass down the knowledge of African traditions. Y'all tired of hearing this? Okay, I'm trying to help you understand how an African became a Negro. See this process. And it's really deep, y'all, because when the importation of Africans became outlawed, this had a tremendous development on black American culture. For you see, without any new Africans coming over now, follow this now, to reinforce the African culture in the minds of the slaves, what happened? American-born slaves grew more and more alienated from African consciousness. Is this making sense to you? White slave masters were able to create the most repulsive image of Africa, which black slaves had no choice but to accept. The process of separating African children from their parents and teaching them to despise their heritage is something that we need to start looking real close at, y'all. Like I said, it's going on today. The next step, oh, y'all gonna get a little upset on this one now, but the next step in making a Negro was making sex a tool for power and control. Yes. Now y'all, check this out. How many of y'all have heard sisters say, brothers ain't no good? Yes. Now maybe y'all ain't heard them say that, I don't know. Maybe you've heard women say men are dogs. All that kind of stuff. Well, let me tell you what happened in making the African male warrior an Americanized Negro. You see, brothers and sisters, Africans have always held the seriousness of marriage close to them. There was nothing as important as the home when it comes to Africans. But over here, Lord have mercy, African slaves always lived with the reality that their marriage couldn't be held sacred or taken seriously. For you see, at any moment, One could be sold away, or the master, as I said, can come and snatch his wife and show who really holds the power. You see, here's how this works. During slavery, big, strong, black African men and women were matched up. They didn't have no feelings for each other. There was no love involved here. See, that's why the sister came out with the song and said, what's love got to do with this? Love had nothing to do with it. The slave master would take this big, strong black woman and this big, strong black man and make them have sex with each other. Not for anything other than the fact that he knew a big, strong baby would come from their union, and that would bring him some more money. Therefore, a monogamous family life was unrealistic to the black slave. Even, check this out, y'all, even white men were paid as high as $20, which back then was good money now, were paid as high as $20 for each Negro woman that they got pregnant. Robust white college students were even invited to spend their vacations on the plantations and turned loose among the slave cabins at night in order to secure mulatto children. Slave masters made their female slaves submit to being impregnated by white men and punished those that resisted. Black male slaves felt powerless. I don't know if y'all can tap into this pathology that I'm telling you here. The black male slaves felt powerless when they saw how the white men, merely by the power of their whiteness, could sexually abuse any black woman that they desired, and the black slave male couldn't do anything about it. And guess what, y'all? We're still dealing with that psychohistory today. This created a hostile relationship between the black and white man. And it still exists today. Have you ever heard of a person who's trying to deal with a problem, and instead of going back and dealing with the history of the problem, they're trying to address it now? Look at the person next to you and say, you can't address the now until you address the past. Some of you sitting here right now, you are scarred and wounded now because of something that happened in your past, and some of you got this thing in your head, just turn it over to Jesus.
After watching this video, here is a critical analysis I want us to share together about who are the children of God. We are going to look at the different religions and how they've brought themselves forward, trying to explain that they are the children of God. Throughout history, the idea of being the children of God has been a central theme in many religious traditions. This concept has evolved over time. It has been shaped by cultural, spiritual, and societal needs. This is the main theme of the video. And you've seen that many religions are claiming they are the ones who are the children of God. Islam's claim they are the ones. Christians claim they are the ones. The ones who practice Judaism claim. Hinduism, Buddhism, name it all, everyone is claiming to be the children of God. We have to make a distinction between these people. I shall tell you my perspective on whom I think are the true children of God with reference to my own spiritual text. The phrase children of God generally refers to people who have special relationship with the Most High God, marked by love, care, and divine purpose. In many religions, this symbolizes being close to the divine, having moral responsibility, and receiving spiritual blessings. For example, the idea has given people a sense of identity, belonging, and hope. However, the definition of who qualifies as the God of God's children varies significantly across different beliefs and different religions. Now, we have many religions, as I stated forward. Christianity believe that the people who follow Christianity are the children of God. Christianity also believes that Israel, the one we have today, these are the people who are the children of God, because remember, God made an agreement with Abraham. And this agreement that God made with Abraham made the people of Israel, who are the descendants of Abraham, through Isaac and through Jacob, making them the children of God because of the agreement that the Most High God had with Abraham. Now I think you can see the connection. And so for Islam, which also borrows a lot from Judaism, also claims that they are the children of God because they claim that God also had an agreement with Abraham. By the way, Islams also believe in Abraham. They believe in Isaac, and also they believe in Jacob, I suppose. But I know they believe in Abraham. The concept in early traditions, we are going to start with Judaism. Judaism is one of the oldest religions we have in existence. In Judaism, the concept of being God's children first appears in the Torah. In the book of Exodus, God calls Israel his firstborn son. This one we can get a reference on Exodus chapter 4 verse 22 to 23. God calls the people of Israel his firstborn, indicating a special relationship with the Jewish people that God has with them. Yes. The covenant between God and Abraham and later with Moses reflects this father-child bond, you know. The term children of God here is tied to the idea of responsibility. The Jewish people are seen as chosen to follow God's law and set an example for others. However, this does not exclude the rest of humanity from God's love. Instead, it emphasizes the role of Jewish people as light to the nations. So being called the children of God does not make you better, does not make you more superior than the others. It's only that you are set as an example and you are a role model. People should follow you. You understand? So people should not fight upon this idea, we are the children of God, this and that. We are all equal before the eyes of the Lord. It's only that God confirms with Israel, according to Judaism, that it is that the Israelites are God's firstborn, because God had an agreement, again I repeat, with Abraham. God had an agreement with Moses. Moses is the one who took the Israelites out of captivity in Egypt, if you can remember. Christianity expanded the idea of being God's children to include all believers. In the New Testament, Jesus is referred to as the Son of God, you know, and through him, all who believe can be called the children of God. There's a very important passage that I like in the Bible. You know, Jesus had 12 disciples. Of these 12 disciples, a number of them wrote the Gospels. The Gospels are the ones that are starting the New Testament. You understand? So these disciples wrote the book of Matthew, we have the book of Luke, we have the book of Mark, and then we have the book of John. These people are giving account of the Lord Jesus Christ based on their experience with him. There's one which takes a different approach. The book of John takes a very different approach, where John says, you know, everyone is starting with the lineage of Jesus Christ, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, but John starts with a different approach. He's different, you know. Now he starts by, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. So in the beginning it was him. He has always been there. He is the Word, and he is everything. Everything that is made was made through him, and nothing exists that was made without him. For Christians, being a child of God means having faith in Jesus Christ and living according to his teachings. It also carries the promise of eternal life and the presence of God's unconditional love. So it's not that somebody is better than you, somebody is more equal than you. No. Everyone is equal. John's account tells us that it is Jesus Christ who is the Lord, and he confirms that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. And in him, there's something I didn't tell you. John goes ahead to say that he was given the power that whoever believes in him will have whoever believes in him will become a child of God. I think I'll show you the text here. You can read this. For Christians, being a child of God means living and having faith in Jesus Christ. That one you understand. Now let's go to the Islamic religion. These are the three Abrahamic religions: Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. Now, according to Islam, the idea of being God's child is interpreted differently. The Quran emphasizes that God, Allah, is the creator and the sustainer of all, but he does not have literal children. The phrase children of God is not used in the Quran, as it is seen as a misunderstanding of God's nature. So in the Quran, we don't have the concept of God's children. We don't have that there. God does not have literal children. You understand? God does not have a son. But in Christianity, God has a son. You see the difference? Instead, humans are referred to as servants of God. The relationship between humans and God is deeply personal in the Quran, even if it is framed differently from the parent-child metaphoric signature. This concept of children of God, according to Hinduism and other Eastern religion. Eastern religion include Hinduism, Sikhism, Buddhism, whatever that comes from East Asia. All those are called Eastern religion. We are going to use Hinduism as an example. In Hinduism, the concept of being connected to the divine is often expressed through the idea of the soul, which is Atman, being a part of the universal spirit, which is called Brahman. Hindu stories also feature gods like Krishna, referring to humans as his children. It highlights love, care, and guidance, similar to the parental role found in other religions. Buddhism does not have a direct equivalent of the children of God, but it teaches that all human beings are interconnected and have the potential to achieve enlightenment. The idea of compassion and care for others can be seen as an extension of the divine parent-child relationship in a more universal sense. God's children, how it has evolved and how it's affecting us today as Black people and in totality as human beings. The concept of the children of God has expanded beyond religious boundaries. Many people interpret it as a universal statement about human dignity and equality. It suggests that all humans, regardless of race, religion, or nationality, are valued and loved by a higher power. The inclusive approach is reflected in the interfaith dialogues and movements that emphasize shared values like compassion, justice, and peace. This idea of being God's children is no longer limited to a specific group, but serves as a call for unity. Modern interpretation often connect the idea of being called God's children with human rights and social justice. If all people are God's children, then everyone deserves respect, freedom, and opportunity. This perspective has inspired movements for equality, such as the civil rights movement led by figures like Martin Luther King Jr., who often influenced the idea in his speeches. What are the challenges that we are facing with this idea of God's children? Despite its positive messages, the concept of God's children can sometimes lead to exclusion. Some groups use it to claim superiority over others, leading to divisions. In modern times, these interpretations are being challenged with a growing focus on inclusivity and shared humanity. The idea of being called the children of God carries profound implications. First of all is spiritual meaning. It emphasizes closeness to God, moral responsibility, and hope. The second one is cultural significance. It shapes traditions, prayers, and rituals in various religions. Third one is moral guidance. It inspires people to live ethically and care for other people. Love others as you love yourself. And now, what is the relevance in the modern times? For individuals, the idea of being God's children provides comfort, purpose, and a sense of belonging. It reminds people that they are loved and valued even in difficult times. In a world of diverse beliefs, this concept encourages mutual respect by recognizing that all religions emphasizes love and care. We can build stronger connection across cultures. The idea of being God's children inspires people to tackle global challenges like poverty, inequality, and environmental destruction. It calls for treating others as equals and caring for them and the planet, which is our shared home. This is very profound about the idea of being called God's children. Being called God's children should not give you a license to mistreat other people because you think you are better than other people. You see what's happening in the north, in the Middle East, what's happening. Some people call themselves the children of God, and so they have the license to do whatever they do wrong. Everyone is equal before the eyes of the Lord, and many people really forget that. To conclude, this is what I'd say. The concept of the real children of God has deep roots in the world's religion. It reflects humanity, longing for connection, purpose, and love. Over time, it has grown from being a belief tied to a specific group to a universal principle of equality and compassion. In today's, this idea reminds us of our shared humanity. Whether we view it through the lens of faith or as a metaphor for unity, it calls us to care for one another and strive for a better world. We can use this concept of God's children to bridge our divisions and create a more inclusive, peaceful society where all humans are equal and all humans can coexist with one another. I love that I've also learned something new from watching this specific individual. Many times we equate Jews for being the children of God, but maybe it's different this time. Maybe it has always been different. I don't know, it's my perspective. I stand to be corrected. I really do stand to be corrected. Yes, this is EFK Original Documentaries. If you like my content, subscribe, share, give a super thanks if you may. Support me on Patreon. It really motivates me to bring more content to you, my Black beloved people. Yes, so see you in the next one, where we shall also discuss issues affecting Black people. See you in the next one.